Become a member of a church that truly welcomes people of all creeds, cultures, classes, identities, and orientations. And yes, all generations.
All Souls Tulsa and All Souls Everywhere members try to live out what we call love beyond belief.
Bring your whole self each week to our worship services, Humanist Hour, and programs for families and adults.
Empower your children with a religious education that helps them make their own decisions about what they believe.
Connect and learn from our community of diverse experiences, faith, and cultures.
Sing with others in one of our many choirs.
Explore your creativity and find healing in the chapter of your life that you're in right now.
At All Souls, our members care for each other through the highs and the lows of our lives.
Live out love beyond belief here in Tulsa, across our nation, and around the world.
Join us. Become a member of the All Souls family in our centennial year.
At All Souls, our members care for each other through the joys and the sorrows of life.
All Souls Tulsa and All Souls Everywhere.
Join today at All Souls.
Cabbage, everybody. King Cabbage. King Cabbage. King Cabbage is in the house.
Entitled Courageous Love from our senior minister, Reverend Dr. Marlin Lavanhar. We have a great story for all ages entitled The Drum from our religious director of religious education, Shannon Boston. And we'll receive a prayer from our own Reverend Gerald Davis, who in a few moments will lead us in our covenant and invocation. And we're going to have some incredible music Only Unitarians can do church like this. Some incredible music by from David Smith, Rick Fortner, and you've heard them, the King Cabbage Brass Band. Yeah. Now, this is your first time joining us at All Souls. Please fill out the Connect card found in the pew back in front of you and drop it in the offering plate when it comes around. For those of you online, welcome. Please let us know a little bit about yourself in the chat, and one of our welcoming souls will reach out to you and let you know a little bit about us. Also, please share the link to this service. Like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Roku. Now, if you're joining us online, please drop your prayer requests and concerns into the chat. So in a few moments, we can light a candle and hold space for you here in the sanctuary. Now, if you will, take a moment to pass the peace by standing and greeting one another in courageous love as Reverend Davis comes forward to lead us in our invocation and covenant. You got it?
Oh, it's a lot of courageous love out there. I can feel that courageous love. Good morning, church. This is indeed a day that God has made. Let us then rejoice in it and be glad, and let us count our many blessings. We are grateful for the capacity to see, hear, feel, and understand. We are grateful for the incredible gift of life, and we are especially grateful for the ties of love which bind us together, giving dignity, meaning, worth, and joy to all our days. Please join me in our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. Covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Welcome to All Souls, where we love beyond belief.
From all that will below the skies, let faith and hope with love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung through every land and every tongue.
You may be seated. Our chalice is lit today by longtime members Chris and Kendra Freedom. Kendra is currently on the board of trustees, and they both have been leaders in our church for many years. We ignite the flame of this chalice, which represents our standing for justice in times of injustice, for knowledge in the time of the suppression of it, and for love in the era of indifference. Indeed, ours is a courageous love that compels us to courageous living and courageous giving. For we do what we do not for vain glory, but for the genuine care and concern for others. We do it for this movement that ties us to the legacies of those who went before us, whose works laid our foundations, and whose voices yet speak to us of truth, of hope, and possibility, and compassion. Maybe so.
Good morning. I am Shannon Boston, your religious educator, and I have a story for you today called The Drum. When we give a gift, whether it be a small present for our children, financial support for our church, or a piece of wisdom that we share, we never quite know what will come of that gift. Let me give you an example with a story from India that was written down by Faye Mogensen. Once in India, there was a boy who wanted nothing more than to have a drum. His mother wanted nothing more than to give him one, but though she worked long and hard every day, she couldn't afford to buy him one. She could barely afford to buy the food they needed. One day she walked home after many long hours selling her grains at the market, and she felt especially sorrowful that she couldn't give her son what he wanted. And as she walked, a stick caught her eye. She bent down and picked it up, and when she got home, she gave it to her son, saying, "This is for you. It's the best I could give you. I wish it were a drum." The boy was happy with the stick. He said, "Thank you, Oma." And immediately he began to tap his stick on a pot in the yard. Tirakita-tada, tirakita-tada. He hit the fence as he walked by and carried on down the road until he came upon a neighbor sitting outside by her cooking fire with tears streaming down her face. "What's wrong?" asked the boy. "It's my fire. My wood is too wet and I can't light it." The boy looked at his stick. It was dry. He gave it to the woman, and her fire flared up immediately, and before long she was able to bake the naan bread she'd prepared, and she gave the boy a loaf in thanks. "Thank you," said the boy, though he was not hungry. So he waved the naan in the air a little as he walked in time to the drum beats in his head. Tirakita-tada, tirakita-tada. And before long, he came to the potter's house, and outside the baby was wailing. "Whatever is wrong?" asked the boy. "We haven't sold a single pot this week," answered the baby's mother, "so I haven't been able to buy him any food." The boy looked at the naan in his hand. "Here, have this. I'm not hungry," he said. And the baby stopped crying, and the woman was so grateful she reached for a pot. "Here, have this one. No one seems to be buying large pots these days." And the boy thanked her and hoisted it onto his head, and now he could tap the drum beat on the side of the pot as he walked. Tira-tika-tada, tira-kita-tada. Before long, the boy came to a river where he saw a washerman and a woman quarreling. "Whatever is the matter?" said the boy. "We broke our pot. We don't know what to do. Without it, we can't scrub the clothes properly." And the boy looked up at the pot on his head. "Here, take this. I don't need it." The washerwoman and the man were so grateful that they gave him a beautiful coat. But the boy wasn't cold, so he slung it over his shoulder, and the drum beat continued in his head as he walked along the road. Tirakita-tada, tirakita-tada. Before long, the boy came to a bridge, and he noticed a man shivering beneath the bridge. He had almost no clothes. The man explained that he had been robbed. "Please take my coat," said the boy. The man was thrilled. He pointed to the horse that was grazing nearby. "I can't ride or care for my horse anymore. Please take it as a token of my gratitude." The boy was pleased indeed, but he did not know how to ride a horse, so he led it along the way, and now he could hear the drum beats in the horse's hooves. Tirakita-tada, tirakita-tada. Before long, he came upon a bridegroom and his parents and a group of musicians sitting under a tree. But they looked very unhappy. "Whatever is wrong?" asked the boy. "The groom cannot go to his wedding unless he rides on horseback. The auspicious hour for the wedding is soon here, and his horse has not arrived." The boy led the horse over. "Please, take mine." The family was very grateful. "What can we give you in return?" The boy could see that the musicians had more than one drum. "Might I have one of those?" "Of course," they replied. Now the boy walked home beating a drum. Tirakita-tada, tirakita-tada. "Ama," he called out, "look, the stick you gave me has become a drum." Here ends our story. Children and youth, let us go to our classrooms and talk about the gifts we have received and the gifts we have offered, and think about how we can look at giving in the future. Tada, tiriquita,
Beautiful. All right. Thank you. And King Cab, you had no idea what you were getting yourselves into this morning. We're so glad you came, and we appreciate all you guys are just like, yeah, okay, whatever we can do. Let's make this thing the best time we can have for the next couple of hours. So thank you for being with us all this morning. I've got two other people with us. Again, they lit our chalice. It's Kendra Freedom and Chris Freedom. Kendra's on our board of trustees now, and Chris has taught our coming of age class. Both of them have taught Sunday school for us, and we've asked them to come forward and just say a few words about why they support All Souls. We're beginning a new pledge drive for 2023, where we're asking people to let us know kind of what you'll be able to do financially to support the church in 2023. And so they're the first of those who will come forward over the next few weeks just to share a little bit about why they love and support All Souls. So thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we came to this church when our children were young enough to be in the cherub choir. The church has been a great support through all the growing years for our children. They both participated in youth programming, choir, and met lifelong friends here. Our son is now 18 and proudly serving in AmeriCorps, and our daughter is 20 and in her second year of college away in New York. And really, I wanted to tell a story about our daughter, Sam, that many of you might know. Last week, I was talking to her on the phone and telling her that I was planning on speaking in front of the church here today to talk about why I think it's important to give money to All Souls. Her response, "You give money to the church?" This child, who started in the cherub choir, went on every choir trip she possibly could. She volunteered and participated in many summer programs for camp and choir camp. She was involved in a trip to Boston with the coming of age. She met her best friends here at the church. She was in parades. She was a poster child for the church. She was on the news for the church. She marched in many parades. She even gets very excited when she's working her summer job and someone from All Souls recognizes her at Trader Joe's. She said, "I didn't think you were that serious about church." The audacity. So I told her, "I give money to the church because the church gives me so much more." For me, it gave Sam all the things that she needed to become a well-rounded, productive adult right now. I think that that is priceless.
She said it, but we all got up this morning and All Souls had enough value to draw us in. They give us returns on our investment time and time again. It's 2023 season to reaffirm what you give to the church. And those of you who already give, it might be time to consider increasing that a little bit to support this amazing established place that has served us well, and I know serves all of you well too. So thank you.
Today we honor the mystery and complexity of life. We acknowledge that life is never static and that change is the only permanent thing we are presented with. But we feel thankful that we do not have to traverse this path of life alone. We are grateful for being a part of this healing community, to share our lives, transitions both joyful and painful. Today we light a candle for the horrific tragedy in Thailand, where 34 people lost their lives. Act of violence, 24 of them children. We light a candle, as tomorrow is the day that has been traditionally known as Columbus Day. But very specifically, do we light a candle for the indigenous communities and for their significance and contributions to our lives and history. And for the great Americans, the great Oklahomans, Donna Dutton, Chip McElroy, Peggy Tanner, and Dennis R. Neal, who were all inducted into the Tulsa Historical Society Hall of Fame this week. And from our online viewers and our Everywhere members, Kathy Caffer Pitcock says, please light a candle for Kendall for healing. Please light a candle for our schools and healthcare workers. Giacomo Tassaro, please pray for Iris that she may find light and stability in this life. Tasha Kaysen, please light a candle for those struggling to recover a way of life after being devastated by hurricanes and floodwaters and from the unyielding monsoons. Elizabeth Gutierrez, candle for Lynn Jones. I invite you now to name aloud someone you wish to include in this sacred space. We light a candle for all the precious names spoken and those unspoken but remain in our hearts. If you have lost a loved one in the past year, or if this Sunday is the closest to the anniversary of the death of a loved one, we invite you now to stand in memory for a brief moment of silence before Reverend Davis begins the spoken prayer. You may be seated.
You may be seated. Hear now this prayer. Oh, gracious God, Spirit of life and love, we are so happy to be in the presence of one another as we have gathered in this sacred space to receive the blessings that only you can give us. We are hearing courageous love this morning, and we are praying that our courageous love speaks to what is being said. We know that people say that took courage after the act has been done. But we also know that going through it, we're not thinking about courage. We're just doing what we do. And what we do, oh gracious God, is live life with love. Gracious God, keep us in a place where we just do what we do. And let others say, where are you from? And we can say all souls, because we do love beyond belief. Gracious God, we know you want us to be in this space, to learn to live with that kind of love. Gracious God, give us then what we need to go forth and do the best we can do with what you have given us. Let us be the ones that they say, that took courage. And so we pray in your holy name, because we know all things are possible through you. Amen. Blessed be Ashe.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. Sing it with me, man. When I breathe, I breathe in peace. When I breathe, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, when I breathe, oh, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, when I breathe in, oh, I breathe in peace. Sing it with me. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, when I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out. Would you look over to someone near you and tell them, I wish you joy and peace? Would you wish someone joy and peace? I wish you joy and peace. Let's do it again.
We likes to party, we don't cause trouble and we don't bother nobody. We're just some members on the mic, and when we rock up on the mic, we rock the mic right. All of y'all's keeping y'all's in health, just to see you smile and enjoy yourself, cause it's cool when we cause a cozy condition here that we create, cause that's our mission. So listen close to what we say, cause this type of stuff happens every day. Cause la-di-da-di, la-di-da-di, ding ding, la-di-da-di, la-di-da-di, ding ding. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You guys can sit down now. I know. Yeah. All right. Let's hear it for all the music. One love, one love. I say one courageous kind of love. It said, that, I love that line, let's get together and feel all right. So check, mission accomplished. We're already doing it. I'm feeling good. Just having that music, having that sound. It brings me right back to New Orleans, where I lived as a young adult from age 18 to 21. I lived in New Orleans. I went to school there as an undergraduate. And New Orleans, what a special city. People ask me why I chose New Orleans, Tulane University, and I tell them for all the wrong reasons. But I'm really glad in the end that that's where I went, and I took so much from that experience. And one of the things, I heard a gentleman talking on the radio not very long ago about, he was from the rural part of Louisiana. He's now an adult. He wrote a book about something, and he was talking about going to New Orleans with his parents as a kid. And he said, there's something about that city. You see something in your parents that you've never seen before. And I experienced this, and I think everyone who goes, as a student and their parents come to visit them have some version of this same experience that this man was talking about. I remember, at some point when you're in New Orleans, you end up down in the French Quarter, and you end up walking along Bourbon Street, and you hear this kind of music coming out of the windows of clubs and bars and music venues, and pretty soon you notice your mom, your dad, whoever it is, and they're starting to get a little beat in their step, and they start moving their hips, and they may raise a hand, and you're like, we're right in the middle of the street in public. And you're thinking, who are these people? It's actually, there's sort of three competing ideas that come into your head at that moment. The first is, who are these people? And then the other is, God, I hope nobody sees this. I'm so embarrassed. My parent, what's going on here? And then the other one is, I love this. I love that my parents have this in a little swing within them, in their hearts. And I think part of growing up, we learn that we have these competing ideas within us, and these competing parts of ourselves. And in fact, we develop like a false self as we grow up, because some of these ideas are ours, and some of them belong to other people, and they're not ours, but we take them on. You might know what I'm talking about. Like, there might have been some good-looking person that you started to fancy and started to want to get with or be with, and so you started to act a little different in order to impress that person. Sometimes we do this. Sometimes we act different because our parents think it's the way to be, and so we try to live that way because of our parents. Or sometimes it's for a job, to get a job. We go in, we work, maybe we dress a certain way for this job. It might not be us, it might not feel like us, but it helps us get ahead. And we build like a false consciousness, a false sense of who we are. It happens with friends. It happens at church. People will act like somebody they're not when they come into church, because they're like, well, we're supposed to all be holier than thou, and we're supposed to all act like we get along, even though, you're arguing with each other in the car on the way over here, but then you get here and everybody acts like, okay, let's act like we're all, a happy family. Put on the church face or whatever that is. But there's a whole bunch of ways in which we can have a false self, but I think the key to life is figuring out who am I? Who am I really? And what do I want to be in the world? And what do I want my life to be about, and all that kind of thing? And I can also remember being a young adult, being in college, and staying up late till 3 a.m. with friends, solving the world's problems, philosophizing about what this is all about. And and it was sort of, some of it's just naivete. As a young person, you think, you could do so much better than all these older people who, can't figure out how to run the world. And as we get older, we realize, wow, it's a lot more complicated than I thought it was, And of course, then there's also, depending on what we're imbibing and how much, our ideas may sound even better, about how the world ought to be and how smart we are. But there's part of it that is, I don't want to lose. There's part of that idealism about that we can make this world a better place. We can do it differently than the people who've come before us. And I never want to lose that. Some of it's naivete, some of it's late night, alcohol-induced or whatever ideas, but some of it is real, that we can do this differently. And I think about, we may not be able to change the whole world. I say we might not be able to, because I still like to hold out some hope that maybe we could. Maybe a small group of people is the only thing that ever has changed the world. But we might not be able to change the whole world. But one thing we can change is our community, this place, All Souls. This is our clubhouse. This is our community center. This is our place, and we can do with it what we want to do with it. We can dream big about what we want in a community like this with each other, because we're the leaders. We're the ones who make this place. It's here because of us. Democratic, we vote on it, we make decisions, we get involved. And so I think that's pretty amazing. And I think that the pandemic has created another kind of opening. It's sort of cleaned the slate a little bit for us to say, hey, we're kind of rebuilding, regrouping. How do we want to do it differently? Are there any things we want to do different? We're going to have some town hall meetings coming up starting at the end of this month. I think there's a notice in your bulletin about that on October 23rd, and then there's another one coming up on a Wednesday night. And so we will be having some town hall meetings discussing what we want to do with this facility and these grounds. We're going to be doing a visioning process this year with the congregation. And so there's lots of ways that we can recreate and reimagine. What do we want out of our community, out of our church, out of this place, out of our life together? And so, and I think that the pandemic also gave us this sense that everything could change like that. Our lives could change, our lives could end like that, which has always been true, but you don't really think about it that way. But every day is a gift. What do we want to do with the time we have? And so I want to really think about what we're going to do with this precious moment with All Souls, with each other, with our own individual lives. Stop living any kind of false life. I don't have a church where you got to act like you're somebody you're not. Come be yourself. What do you believe? What do you disbelieve? It's fine. Let's bring it forward. Let's be real with each other, and let's create that kind of community together. I'm in a Jewish Christian dialogue group here in town with some other clergy and other folks. It was started by the Oklahoma Center for Community and Justice. And one of the pastors asked me last week, I understand you have a humanist service where there's no talk of God, there's no idea, people don't have to believe in anything around God or anything supernatural. I clarified, it's not that you don't believe in anything. These people believe in a lot of things. It's just that they don't believe in God specifically, a lot of them, or they're agnostic about it. But he said, well then what's redemption in that kind of a church that has that kind of idea? And I said, I used a story that I heard from Forrest Church many years ago, a ministerial colleague, and he said, you know a coupon that you bring into the store? You redeem that coupon when you bring it into the store. Now, it doesn't get redeemed if you don't bring it in, right? If you use it to put in the bottom of your bird cage, it's not worth anything. But if you use it for its intended purpose, it gets redeemed for its full value, whether it's 20 cents or $1 or $10, but you use the coupon for its intended purpose and it is redeemed for its full value. Well, we do the same thing with our lives. When we use our life for its intended purpose, we redeem our life for its full value. But you can't redeem your life for its full value if you don't know who you are, and you don't know what you're about, and you don't know what your gifts are, and what you have to share, and what you have to give. And so that's what this is all about. And I want to talk about redemption of our lives by living our lives for their intended purpose. So what is that? And what is All Souls? So there's some amazing people. Randy, you lit a candle for 4 of our members who were inducted into the Historical Society's Hall of Fame here in Tulsa this week on Monday. Now, there were 6 people inducted. 4 of them were members of All Souls. I was like, all right, that felt good. I was proud of that. And what was interesting, they also asked, and those who are here, who are inductees from before, please rise when we call your name. And so they start calling names, and 1/4 of those people were members of All Souls. You had people like Nancy McDonald, George Crumey, Clayton Vaughn, whose daughter was there on his behalf. And in fact, I believe there are only 4, maybe 5 ministers in the Tulsa Hall of Fame. And now, we have a church on practically every corner in this city. And one of those ministers is my predecessor, Reverend Dr. John Wolf, who was a senior minister at his church for 35 years. Now, of all the churches and all the ministers in town, there's a handful who've been inducted, and one of them is the minister at his church. So I know. And so I'm sitting there thinking, watching this all happen on Monday at that ceremony, I thought, this church matters. This church has made a difference in this community and continues to and is recognized. One of them, the McElroy families, Donna and Peggy and Chip, they're just great corporate citizens and philanthropists in this community, helping with the gathering place and the food bank and so many other great causes. This church, and then Dennis Neal, who he mentioned All Souls in his acceptance speech. He said, if it weren't for All Souls, he said, 40 years ago, I'm here as a young gay man in Tulsa, Oklahoma, considered an abomination by most of the people and the churches around. And All Souls allows me to start a group that's now known as Oklahomans for Equality to support gay and lesbian people in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who were trying to make their lives here back then, 40 years ago, and not have to hide. And so he did. He started it here at this church, because this church was a place that would allow them to meet, and eventually now it's one of the top 3 equality centers of its kind in the country, named after Dennis R. Neal, and I'm really proud of that. Really proud. And what does that say about Tulsa, Oklahoma, the reddest of the red states, conservative politically and conservative religiously, considered the buckle of the Bible Belt by many people, that they held up this week as one of their favorite sons, Dennis R. Neal, an out gay man. It says times have changed. And times don't just change because they change. They change because people get together and they stand up for what's right and they speak it boldly into the community and they say, this is right and what we're doing is wrong. And I don't care if it comes from your church, I don't care if it comes from your preacher, I don't care where it comes from, it's wrong. And that's what we've done from this pulpit and this church for a long time, and it's made a difference in the lives of gay and lesbian, transgender, and other people in this community. And this church was a leader in the civil rights movement and the integration of schools and a lot of other things. And so this church has stood for things that matter, and it's stood the test of time. And we need it now more than ever. One of the other inductees was Eva Unterman, a Holocaust survivor. She was in the Holocaust as a child. She survived. The rest of her family didn't, I believe. But she survived. And then she started something as an adult here in Tulsa that is a Holocaust memorial service and celebration, each year to remember, a remembrance ceremony. And she reminded me while we were there that we hosted it here at All Souls for almost a decade. When it started, she said we didn't want to host it ourselves in the Jewish community. We didn't really necessarily want to go out to a church that had, crosses hanging and all kinds of other things around. We just wanted to be in a place where everybody would feel welcome, and so we held it at All Souls until it got so big that we couldn't even house it in this sanctuary anymore, which is a great gift. And so now it's grown beyond. But I'm sitting there in this induction ceremony thinking, well, even Eva's story goes through All Souls. I'm like, this place matters and it makes a difference. And during the pandemic, things have shrunk a little bit, gone down a little bit, and it's time for us to rebuild it because this city needs a strong and a healthy and a vibrant All Souls, a community of generous souls who are making a difference and living inspiring lives. All Souls is a center, and has to be a center for people of all backgrounds who are creating new ways of valuing each other and the earth. We are needed more than ever to be a catalyst for new relationships with our neighbors across faiths, and between people of different political views, ethnicities, and more. Now, some people are going to say, I know, Mom, but aren't we doing enough? I mean, even in the midst of where we are? We give away our offering plate every week to organizations that matter. Today, we're going to give it away to hurricane relief for Hurricane Ian in a little while, so you can get your checkbook ready, because we'll have that offering in just a few minutes when I finish. But we give away our offering plate every week to organizations that are making a difference in the community. In the past 12 months, I asked how we were doing with giving away food through our community resource bank, and I found out in the last 12 months, we distributed over 75 tons of food, helping countless of our neighbors in Oklahoma avoid hunger during the pandemic. I'm proud of our community resource bank. Some of you know we've started more microcredit banks, over 30 in Central America and South America, than any other church anywhere in the country. Over the last 20 years, our House Committee has restored over 200 homes for people living in our community who couldn't afford to stay in their home if it weren't refurbished or rehabbed. They were losing their home, and they helped people to save their homes and live well. And we're going to keep doing all this. We're going to keep volunteering in the schools. We're going to keep helping register people for votes. But I also want us to fully realize our potential to use our money in ways that offer a prophetic critique of the injustice of the marketplace. Everything in nature, think about this. Everything in nature uses only what it needs and gives something back to create this spectacular, interdependent world that we live in. Nothing else in nature hoards its resources far beyond what it needs to flourish, except for us. We're like dogs burying the bones, for later, and then we lose them and we don't even need them because something else happens. And we need to be able to live with a kind of trust and a kind of faithfulness that we're creating a world that matters. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs explains it this way. He says, happiness is not made by what we own, it's by what we share. A person's wealth is measured by what we share, not by what they hoard. Why is that? It's how all of the rest of the natural world works. It's a give and a take. We have an economy. We say that humans, we need to step up and serve the economy. The economy should be serving human beings, not the other way around. And so again, I'm not saying that we're going to try to change the whole American economy and the whole way of life. But I will say that there's supposed to be a connection between, they say that, if you have a healthy economy and a strong economy, you're going to have happy people. But we have the strongest economy in the world, and we got a lot of unhappy people. So there's not a direct correlation between a strong economy and happy people. And so what I want to talk about is how we have a different kind of an economy inside our community. It's an alternative economic system. It's not based on competition, it's based on cooperation. We have an economy that's not based on hoarding resources, but sharing resources. It's an economy that is designed to create, not designed to create healthy profits, but designed to create healthy people. In the story that Shannon shared with our children this morning, it begins with a young boy who wants a drum, but he doesn't have a drum. His mom wants him to have a drum. He doesn't have a drum, but she gives him a stick because that's all she has is a stick. And then he finds somebody who needs a stick to light a fire. He gives the stick. That person gets a fire, cooks some food, gives him some food. He ends up finding someone who needs the food. So he gives it. And then he gets something, and he gives, and he gets. And eventually, he gets his needs met. In the story, everybody gets their needs met because people are giving generously something. I don't need all of this, he said. I don't need the stick, really. I don't need the piece of bread, really. And then pretty soon, he ends up with what he needs. It's an alternative economy. And I just think that as we think about this as a congregation, that's our spirit. There's no regulation, there's no taxation. Nobody tells anybody or demands that anybody gives a certain amount of money to the church. We all do what we can financially to support the church. We give of our time, and we trust that if everybody does what they can do, that if they give theirs and we give ours, that together all of our needs can be met within the life of this community, and we can live the best life that we're capable of. It's not a quid pro quo economy. Many of the people who give the most ask the least. Some of the people who give the least get the most. It's completely countercultural, what we do here in terms of that, in terms of the norms of the marketplace, and it's a deeply spiritual thing to be generous, to share of what you have to help create the world that you want to live in. In the words of author Kent Nerburn, he says, such giving is not an economic exchange. It's a generative act. It does not subtract from what we have. It multiplies the effects that we can have in the world. My friends, I can remember spending hours, staying up all night long, dreaming about creating a world that I would want to live in, that would be better than the world that I was inheriting. And the thing is, we have the opportunity to create that right here with our lives, with our families, to show our children a different way and to begin to build something for the next generation. I want to thank everybody who contributes to All Souls, who gives, who keeps this going. We're going to need it more than ever this coming year. I know we're starting our pledge drive for 2023. We're not one of those churches that comes asking for money every week, all the time. It's not something we talk about. We try to talk about it once a year. We're sometimes embarrassed about even having to mention it, but we need it. And fortunately, because of your generosity, we're able to have incredible musicians, great ministers, and religious educators for our children. And so I just want to thank you, thank everybody who is helping us to live the dream. And I hope that you find that part of the false self that we create in our lives is this part of us that tries to hoard. It's unnatural. I mean, we all need what we need. I don't want anybody to go off and give away their last penny to the church, but to give what we can give. And I think that I know that when we give, someone said, well, give until it feels good. Or someone actually said, give until it hurts. And I said, well, we should give until it feels good. It shouldn't hurt to give to something you love, to give to something you care about and believe in. So give until it feels good. If it hurts, you're probably not giving enough. But I hope that this year, when you write out your pledge for 2023, and I know some people are still, many of us are still giving for 2022, but as you write out a number that you are pledging to give for 2023, I hope that you feel really good about it, that you're making a difference, that you're part of a community that makes a difference, not just in your life, because it makes a difference in our lives for sure, but it makes a difference in other people's lives and in this community, and it's a beautiful thing. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel all right. Thank you.
Our closing hymn this morning is not in your order of service, but it's in your heart. It's number 131. If you can look in your hymn book, Love Will Guide Us. And you're invited to rise in body or spirit as we sing this. And when are you going to be able to sing with King Cabbage again? Okay, here we go. Love will guide us,
like angels. If you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love will guide us. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. That's it, guys. Beneath the rain. Love will guide us through the hard
Instead of verbalizing a whole bunch of announcements, take this home with you. There's a lot of great stuff going on all week, a lot of things you can get involved in. So just take this home. It's a beautiful program. It's got lots of information in it, lots of offering. We're going to take an offering right now for hurricane relief, Hurricane Ian, which just devastated parts of Southwest Florida in only a matter of hours. The devastation of trees and animals and people and property, I mean, it's brutal. So we're going to give it to through our denominational Unitarian Universalist Disaster Relief Fund. We know that they're going to get it to those who need it the most. So please give generously, and know that the reason that you can give, that we can give away our plate, is because people pledge, and that's how we support the church. And today, if you're here in the house, in our clubhouse this morning, I want you to, on the way out, there will be, this is all I'm asking you this morning, pick up, there. If you've given before to the church, there's an envelope with your pledge card in it, and it'll tell you what you gave last year, and it'll give you a line to put something in for this year. Turn it in today if you can, or bring it home and bring it back, or mail it back. It'll be in an envelope. Save us the postage to send it to you. Just pick it up today. That's all we ask. You're going to save us 53 cents just by doing that. If you're online, you can go online and pledge online, or come into the church and pick it up. We'll mail them all eventually in a few weeks, but we'd love to save probably $1,000 on postage with you just picking it up yourself. So we appreciate that. Get your pledge card today if you can increase your gift. We're going to need it in 2023 more than ever. More kids are coming. The choirs are coming back. So lots of great stuff's happening. We want to continue to bring fabulous guests like King Cabbage, truly considered one of the greatest bands, the hottest bands in Tulsa today. So let's hear them as we collect our offering.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, and the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands. myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
I love you, and I love what we do here. I love this place, and I love that you're a part of it. I hope you're all in with all of us this year. Next Sunday, my good friend Bishop Carlton Pearson is going to be speaking. So my wife and I are going to be heading to St. Louis to visit our daughter's birth family, who we keep a great relationship with them. And so we'll be in St. Louis, and Bishop Pearson will be here. And then the next Sunday, we're going to do a service that's going to be all based in banned books. So it's books that are banned in this community, and you're going to, yeah. Thank you. So that'll be on October 23rd, I think it is. And that'll be, you will fall out of your chair hearing some of the things that kids can't hear in the church, but you can't hear in school, but you can hear them here. That's for sure. And we'll always be able to hear them here, because that's going to be the freest 3-foot square space for speech and anything else in Oklahoma or anywhere in the United States, as long as we protect it as a community and make this free pulpit and this free church something that exists in this world for the good of all people. Go and be blessed and be a blessing. Amen.
name is